Hello and welcome to the Fit News Podcast. I am your host, Jen Shaver, and joining me today is Sherri Sherock. She is a peri- and post-menopausal specialist, a functional nutrition counselor, a functional fitness trainer, and a women's health coach, helping women over 40 lose menopausal weight, balance their hormones, and gain confidence without fad diets or hardcore workouts. She's about breaking down the social stigma of women 40 plus by educating these women on how to be strong mentally and physically. Sherri's mission is to commit to improving the health of women through functional nutrition, movements, and knowledge, so women can live a healthy and powerful life. Sherri, I'm so excited to chat today. We have a lot to chat about, right? And I know that you are going to help all of my ladies because I know a lot of the stuff that you chat about is the stuff that I chat about, and they want information.
Got it. I'm here. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, well, we're excited to get started with this. So let's get right into it. Why don't we start with your story?
Oh, okay. So I did not begin this way. I wasn't in health and wellness, but it just fell in my lap in a way where my son, when I was, he was two or three, he was diagnosed with autism, and he didn't speak. And it was like we were thrown in a whole new world. And, there's no medication for autism. And I'm sort of grateful for that because it drew me into, let's dive into this. Let's learn more about it. And I learned so much about food, how food affects him, how movement affects him. And as he was progressing and he was making strides, I began to think, okay, so if food and movement is affecting him and we're changing it, we're cleaning things up, and he's progressing, how's this affecting us? And that's when my curiosity got to me. So I started diving deeper. I dove deeper more into the movement piece. I became a certified personal trainer at the time. And I was finally able to take care of myself after he started recovering. And because, your whole world is about taking care of your kid and trying to do whatever you can. And so I have that little piece of time when I began to have time to take care of myself. And I joined a gym, never joined a gym before. I didn't know how to use the equipment. I was like, okay, walk in. I'm looking around. Oh, there's the treadmill. Okay, I got it. And I walk into the treadmill. I'm on the treadmill for like 10 minutes. Okay, I'm done, and I left.
But you got started, and that's what it's about, right?
You got it. You
got
got
showing
it.
up.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And, so small steps. And I happened to meet a personal trainer there, and we got to know each other, worked out with her, and it inspired me to get certified. So as I was certified, I was working full time. I am a certified interior designer, a commercial interior designer. And I was working full time in the evenings. Then I was doing my personal training in the evenings and weekends. I just loved it, being able to help women. And that to me was just like I got a taste, and I was just so excited to be helping women and, to pass my knowledge. So as this was like 2011. So that was a while, but as time was going by, guess what? My body was changing. Yes. And so I was still working full time, and I was experiencing these extremely long and heavy periods. I didn't know what was going on. And I was like going over a month and looking, okay, what's going on? And what blew me away was when I went for help, there was no solution. It was like, oh, well, this is just what happens there. I love this question. How old are you again? Oh, you're almost 45 or you're almost 50. That's just what happens. And no explanation, no of what you can do about it. You just got to suck it up and do it. And so I'm like, this isn't right. And I'd speak to other women, and oh yeah, I was told the same thing. That's just what happens. And again, I shook my head. I'm like, why? Why are we accepting this? Why
Right.
are we accepting this as a solution? The problem is there. We just accept it? I don't think so. Or another option, as I was moving along this perimenopausal journey, which I didn't even know what perimenopause was at the time.
Mhm.
I didn't know that. I was realizing that I was moving along, mood swings, hot flashes. And again, what was I offered? Antidepressants,
Yeah.
a pill, the pill. Oh, that'll just help things. And, I'm not a pill taker in the
Right.
first place. And I'm like, that's unacceptable. There's got to
Mhm.
be something else.
Right.
Keep searching for answers. Couldn't find it. So I decided I'm just going to find it myself. So I found a place, not a place, but online certification. Actually, it's based in England, Burrell Education, thank God. And I was able to find out what is going on in there and how our body, a woman's body, works. I found that as I was moving along, I was so excited because I was actually learning, like, oh, I was
Right.
going through that. And I can eat this to help that. And it was just mind blowing to me.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then it was also frustrating to me
Right.
because the frustrating part was, why wasn't lifestyle habits an option given to me
Right.
besides a pill, or
Mhm.
you just have to suck it up? And
Right.
that's what just fueled my fire. I'm like, I'm just gonna, I have to let everyone know about this.
Right.
And I just dove deeper, even further, into functional nutrition as well.
Yeah.
So how food meets physiology, how the food we eat works with our organs and our digestion. And I can't get enough of it. So you can tell I get excited. But it's all, our body is a well-oiled machine. And I hate calling the body a machine because it's not a machine, but it is smart.
Right.
And so that's how my journey, where I'm at. So peri to postmenopausal specialist, functional nutrition. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so
You mentioned something where it kind of started with your son and the autism, you know, because there isn't a pill, right? There's no pill to fix it, right?
yeah.
And that's pretty much the same thing with
Mhm.
menopause, right? They
Right.
can't offer you a pill, so or they can. They will
Yeah.
often, like you said, offer you either an antidepressant
Mhm.
or the pill.
Right.
Anyway,
Yeah.
uh, you know, and not going with the power of these lifestyle interventions. And as you mentioned, once you learn those lifestyle interventions, it's so empowering. Number one, for you as a mother, when you figured them out and what would work for your son.
Mhm.
And then number two, for you as a perimenopausal woman,
Mhm.
those lifestyle
And
changes that
yeah,
had a profound effect on your day-to-day life.
it was, especially working. So even, even I work from home too right now, but when I was working corporate,
Mhm.
it was it was challenging. I'm going through my day and I've been so like sharp with my memory. I can
Mhm.
remember all this. I was having a team meeting with my coworkers and we were delegating who's doing what, and get back to my desk. It was gone. I mean, I literally cannot remember
Right.
what my I was going through my notes, but just so brain fog and all that, and how that not just challenges me, but how many other thousands of women out there, whether you're working from home or whether you're a stay-at-home mom and or you're working corporate. That's scary when you
Right.
begin to forget what you just talked about.
Mhm.
And nobody talks about. These are some symptoms,
Right.
and these symptoms are warning signs. I should say warning. I call them alert signals from your body,
Yeah.
because it's these symptoms, hot flashes and brain fog, migraines, sleep disruption. All those symptoms are basically alerts from our body saying, "Hey, we need some support." It could be something your liver. You need some support with your liver. Could be something with digestion. So it's not just being a nuisance. It's a call for help. And instead of taking a pill, which is a Band-Aid, let's dive deep into the root cause and say, okay, what is causing these hot flashes? What have I been eating? And just being more aware too of everything. And instead of, we're so busy, we're over scheduled,
Right.
and we don't have time to actually sit and just like observe, or we're going from one task to another. So the observing part and listening to our body and taking time for self is key, is huge.
Right. Right. Let's talk about that, because so often, we have addressed it with the power of these lifestyle interventions. And so often, doctors, all they want to do is give you a pill to fix it. Right. And I know that you have run into some, some issues, so to speak, with doctors and Western medicine. Again, it is a great tool, right? We both love it. We all need it.
Yeah.
But it is not the only tool.
Yeah. I guess what really, I can't think of the word I'm thinking about, but really brought awareness to me as I was going through my studies was, why weren't these lifestyle habits options given to me before I needed a pill, or if I were to need. I'm not saying that going on an antidepressant is bad. I'm not saying going on the pill or any other pill is bad, but I want to at least know, what are the other lifestyle options before I get to that option? Because there, maybe there's something that, food and movement just won't help me with, or supplements that I would need that. So that was the key part, was, where's that in between? Where's that step before the medication option? Where is that? And I just feel that's missing, as well as educating on what's going on in our body.
Right.
Right. A woman should know what happens throughout her entire life on her body, but also her reproductive, organs, and what happens. And it's not taught to us. And it's
right. Well, because don't you think that is because that a lot of time it's not taught to the doctors themselves either?
Yes. And you bring up a good point, because I do presentations, I do public speaking. And as I was gathering information to do my keynote my speech, I should say, it basically, I found just a recent study that, it was a symposium back in March of 2023. So earlier this year. Yeah. And it was for OBGYN doctors. And there was a question that was asked to all the doctors that attended the symposium. And they had asked, how much of menopause was taught to you in medical school? And some said 1 week. Another one said, well, we were told that when your period stopped, that's when menopause happened. Another one said, not at all. Another one said 2 weeks. And I was like, okay, if it's an internal medicine doctor, give and take, all right. But these are OBGYN. Right.
That women are seeking out.
Yes. Going
for help.
Yes.
And they're not getting it. They're not getting the support that they need when they go there.
Right. Yeah. Because of the lack of knowledge. Now, it's not all. I'm not saying all OBGYN do not know. I'm not saying that. But at this symposium where there was a lot of doctors there, a lot of them replied that it was very minimal. And so it goes back to not just doctors not knowing, not being educated in that, but also 2 years of, our moms, their moms' are, is keep it quiet. You just don't talk about it. And even now, when I'm with friends, it's when we're talking, it's like, oh, we're like whispering, and I calm myself. I'm like, what are we doing? We're women. We should just be talking about this. Why do we feel like we have to do this?
Right.
Just a funny story, if you don't mind me sharing. So I remember vividly when I had the sex education at school. Okay. It was like in junior high, and all the girls are separated from the boys. I remember the 2 teachers combined the 2 classes, and there was an overhead projector. Yes, I'm dating myself. So there's an overhead doctor. And it was so vague. And they said, this is just what happens every month. And then okay, before you leave out the door, take one of your little sample bags, and you open up the bag. There's a sample tampon, sample pad, and then some Tylenol or Advil or something in it.
Right.
Right. And we're like, okay. And then
It probably gave us aspirin back in those days.
Yeah, aspirin. Yeah. Bufferin or something.
Right.
And by the way, don't talk about it, right? It's like, just talk amongst yourself, or just don't talk about it. This is what happens. So let's fast forward. My daughter, she's 18 now, but when she was in, like, I don't know, in junior high, just starting junior high, I go to pick her up from school. Here, she hands me a bag. And I'm like, what is this? And I open the bag, and sure enough, it's a sample pad, sample tampon, and an Advil, except the wrapping was much cuter. It had cute flowers on it, but it was the same thing. And how many years later? Like 30, 40 years later? And nothing's changed. So that's where I want to disrupt. I want, like, let's stop this.
Right.
Okay, fine. We as women did not know, but guess what? We can know.
Right.
We're going to empower ourselves. But then, hey, let's empower the younger generation. So what the clients I serve, they're over 40, but guess what? I also speak to women that are in their 30s. My daughter, who's still a teenager, I'm trying to, educate her as well. Right. And I would love to get to teenagers and 20-year-olds too, because guess what? This is preventative. The more you know about your body, then once you get into menopause or perimenopause, then it's going to be a smoother transition.
Right.
And so it's all about educating and knowledge. Oh, you cannot take that away from you. My dad always said that. The more you know, the knowledge is power. No one can take knowledge away from you. And so I want to empower women. I want to educate them. Don't be embarrassed. This is we should, we're strong, we're powerful women. Let's do this. So
yeah. And our bodies are amazing, right? They grow humans, and
you got it. Absolutely. To appreciate it. And it's sad sometimes when I hear some women, some clients I talk to, they hate themselves because of the change in the way their body has changed, the way they feel. They don't feel like themselves, which, here, I'll raise my hand. I went through too. Right. I completely can relate. You lose your self-confidence because I don't understand, but they get to a point where they hate themselves because they've reached out for help, and there's no solution except a pill, which they may have taken, and they've gotten side effects from it.
Right.
Or they were just told, hey, you're just this age. That's just what happens. And you know what? Women, as we get older, darn it, we can be just as sexy. We can be just as athletic and shape. We're going to live the best lives I'm going to be 50 here and then in the month. And I feel more healthy than I ever did in my 20s or 30s. And this is the time, ladies. This is not the time to say, oh, it's over. Heck no.
Right. It's not the time to throw your hands up in the air and say, I give up. I can't do it. This is just this is what happens with age, right? It's just like this saying, this is the way we've always done it, so this is the way we're going to do it, right? Oh, no.
No, absolutely not. Let's change it. Let's be the change. Let's get empower ourselves. So absolutely, that's where I'm at, and educating as much as possible to women. It's like what's happening in their body, and what are some key nutrition pieces. Some women that have hot flashes all the time, and we dive deep and okay, what's your nutrition? Let's talk about it. And they were eating some a lot of refined sugar, some dairy. Those are two key things that could increase hot flashes. Yeah. So just either reducing or eliminating it did the trick for these couple clients. Here's another option. Let's add in, instead of, I hate to always eliminate because people feel deprived. Let's add in seed cycling. Seed cycling, such a powerful thing where many don't know about it. I didn't know about it.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah. So seed cycling is where you implement seeds throughout your cycle. Now, this is for all women, even my
Mhm.
daughter, teenagers so women that are cycling and women that are not. So what you would do, you would implement pumpkin seeds and flaxseed. I get my seeds straight. A pumpkin seed and flaxseed from the time you are in a follicular phase
Mhm.
all the way to your ovulation. So
Okay.
during that time, like half the month, that's when estrogen increases. And
Mhm.
guess what? The pumpkin seeds and the flaxseed, that's what nourishes the estrogen. So it gives the estrogen hormones what it needs.
Mhm.
And then as through the cycle after ovulation, we go into the luteal phase.
Mhm.
And that's when progesterone increases and estrogen decreases.
Mhm.
So the sesame seed and the sunflower seeds, that's when you should switch your seeds and implement those as you go into the luteal phase
Mhm.
through there. And then because those seeds nourish the
Mhm.
progesterone
Mhm.
hormones, and
And
it's a cycle. I'm
and when
sorry.
we're talking about the luteal phase, that's the second half of our cycle.
Yep, it is.
Yeah.
So it's after you ovulate, and we still have a little bit of energy after
Mhm.
ovulation, but you'll notice as you're getting closer to your menstrual cycle, you start to feel tired. You
Mhm.
start to feel like you feeling like you want to slow down a little bit, and not socialize as much. And you can almost, if you're aware, if you pay attention to your body and how you feel, you'll notice it. And that's the luteal phase where you're just, your body's starting to go into the menstrual cycle, menstrual phase. And then that's when that's the best time to add in those particular seeds.
Mhm.
Now, if you're not cycling, no worries, because you can seed cycle with the moon phases. And some people's like, what?
Interesting.
I know it sounds weird, but this has been practiced for years. I mean, ancient Greeks, Aztec, they would follow the moon. So, for instance, I'm not cycling. I will follow new moon to full moon. And
Okay.
between new moon and full moon, I will implement the pumpkin seeds and the flax seeds. And then from full moon back up to new moon, that's when I'll implement the sunflower and the sesame. Because just because I'm in menopause doesn't mean I'm not producing estrogen or progesterone.
Mhm.
It's just still there. Our body is still producing. It's just at a low level. So
Right.
we still need to nourish it. We still need to give them some love.
Right. Right.
And so, yeah, don't feel that, oh, I'm not cycling anymore. So it absolutely, like I mentioned, it helps with a lot of menopausal symptoms, such as hot flashes or
Mhm.
perimenopausal symptoms as well, where
Mhm.
a woman may be cycling, but maybe it's short. It's not, it's a short cycle. Maybe it's every few months.
Mhm.
But absolutely, you can seed cycle at any
Yeah.
time, and
Yeah.
you'll reap the benefits for it. And you can put it in smoothies, yogurt, top of salads. My daughter doesn't like the full seed, so we get a coffee grinder, which we don't grind the coffee anymore, just so you know. And we put the seeds in, so it's a little bit more fine, and she sprinkles it in her smoothie
Nice.
that way. But yeah, it's easy and an inexpensive way to help balance your hormones.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's it's a lifestyle change that you can make. You don't need a doctor's prescription to do
Yeah,
it. It's just something you can do naturally, you know,
yeah, yeah.
to help support your body. I want to talk a little bit more about you brought up estrogen and progesterone and
Mhm.
our dip in estrogen. Let's talk about the types of estrogen, and then also I know that a lot of women tend to be, especially at this age, tend to be estrogen dominant. So let's
Mhm.
talk about that as well.
Yeah, so we have three different types of estrogen: is estrone, estradiol, um, and my goodness, there's a third one. I got a little brain
It's
fog
all
here.
good.
But there's different phases. So for instance,
Mhm.
they all, and it's amazing because our cells all, and it's not, let me back up because I get excited about this. So many people think, oh, estrogen, that's just our sex hormones and it's just reproductive. Our cells in our entire body need estrogen in some way, shape, or form. And so with the dip up and down during perimenopause, because it's going to fluctuate up and down, it's gonna make you feel a certain way. So we're talking about estrogen dominance. So estrogen goes through the liver, it goes through all the cells, but as it goes through the liver, there's a detoxification and we excrete it. So for instance, all of our cells get the estrogen, like I mentioned. Estrogen will come up to a healthy cell, it'll like knock on the door, and what it's going to say, hey, it's me, estrogen, right? If they could talk. And there's little like villa, and the cell opens up and brings in the estrogen, and it takes what it needs from the estrogen, all the goodness for the cell to do its job. And then whatever it's done, whatever it's taken from the estrogen, it pretty much eliminates it out, whatever's left. And we excrete that in our sweat, our poop, and our pee. Us functional nutrition people, we like to talk about poop and pee. but that's how estrogen is how we utilize it in our body. Okay. Now, you mentioned about estrogen dominance. So a couple ways we can get estrogen dominance is, one, obviously our fluctuation with perimenopause. So the first thing that usually happens when our hormones start to change, progesterone drops. Right. And our progesterone is our zen feel good hormone, because it makes us feel relaxed. So like I mentioned before, as we're in that luteal phase, progesterone increases as we're getting towards our menstrual cycle. And I mentioned you get sort of tired, and because it's a calming, it relaxes, it's that type of hormone. So when we're in perimenopause and hormones change, our progesterone decreases. So we're no longer in that zen mood. It's going to increase anxiety, and we're going to feel like, uneasy. We won't be able to sleep. But when progesterone goes down, guess what? Estrogen's either staying high or goes up higher. And that beautiful cycle that I mentioned, which I call them progesterone and estrogen best friends hormone. They're on this beautiful teeter-totter. So as we're cycling, estrogen's up, progesterone's low, progesterone's up. So that's a beautiful cycle. But like I mentioned, when we get to perimenopause, progesterone's low, estrogen's sitting up high, and it's like, okay, we're waiting for you to come back up. And it's like, and that's where a lot of the menopausal symptoms come in. Right. That's where we talked about seed cycling, other things. But let's throw in another aspect. Let's talk about hormone disruptors. Okay, what are hormone disruptors? We hear them all the time. We hear that word thrown around. Well, hormone disruptors are basically chemicals that they're imposters to estrogen. So let's take lotions, beauty products, toothpaste, hand soap. Let's go for some chemicals that are sprayed, pesticides on our fruit. Goodness, the air we breathe, it just depends on where we live, any toxins in the air, the water we drink, what's in our water. So a lot of these are toxins going in our body, whether it's through our skin, whether we ingest them. So guess what? They are hormone disruptors. They're estrogen imposters. Yeah. So like I mentioned, you got our healthy cell, and our body can't decipher which one's the real estrogen and which one's the imposter. So here comes the imposter estrogen coming up to the cell, and it's like, oh, it's estrogen, come in. But it's actually chemicals from these products. Right. And it gets into our healthy cells, and it actually changes the cell makeup. So one, obviously it could create more estrogen dominance, more estrogen in the body. But two, it can also change the cell, and it could cause disease, cancers, and what have you, just because of this chemical, all these chemicals that are going into our body. Right. So, as far as what can we do, it's being mindful, reading ingredients, non-GMOs, organic as much as possible. body lotions,
Mhm.
read the labels, shampoos, hairsprays, makeup. There's a lot of clean beauty out there, thank goodness now.
Yeah.
And it's just it's a breath of fresh air, pardon the pun, um, to have these products out there. But yeah, it can be overwhelming.
Mhm.
It can, like, you'd be like, oh my gosh, I don't know where to go. But if you just take one thing at a time, then and you educate yourself and you just slowly integrate and make that lifestyle change. Like we mentioned about seed cycling.
Right.
That's, it may seem simple, but it's a new thing that
Mhm.
you're adding into your routine. And so it's going to take some time to get into a rhythm, a habit, a tiny micro habit, if
Right.
you will.
Yeah.
So, hopefully that answered your
Mhm.
question on
Yeah.
that. I
What,
just go around.
if you are, so when you're working with your ladies and, they are struggling with some of the common symptoms such as migraines, sleep disruption, and hot flashes, um, what are some of the top things that you recommend? Because, obviously, as you said, I think the number one important thing that you mentioned was that, we don't try and do all these changes, right? All these, extreme changes. But what are some small habits that they could start to implement one at a time that would help to alleviate some of these symptoms?
No, that's a good question. Well, we talked about seed cycling. So, seed cycling is a little tiny thing you can add in. A big one is refined sugar. Refined sugar is so addicting. Uh, it creates inflammation in the body, and it also creates havoc with our hormones. It puts them in a state where things just go out of balance, but you feel terrible. And and the reason why is because as we turn 40, over 40, our hormones change. We're more susceptible to insulin resistance. So have you heard women say, you know I'm eating the same stuff I used to, but I'm gaining weight? Because our bodies changed and we no longer process the foods. We process the foods differently. So insulin resistance is huge. So watching how much refined sugar, processed sugar, cookies, pastries, um, if you look into even those protein bars, healthy protein bars, if you look at it, it says organic cane sugar. It's organic. Yes, yes, you got me there. It is organic, but it's still cane sugar. It's a refined sugar. And your body is processing it. And what's happening our insulin is skyrocketing up. And our body does not process it the way it used to. And it's storing it as fat, like in our midsection, because that's where it likes to sit. So refined sugar would be my number one. And here's my analogy. My analogy is this, because we talked about small steps. So if you're eating 30 Oreos a day, okay, I wouldn't recommend it. But if you're eating 30 Oreos a day, this is what I would say. Tomorrow, or maybe this week, can you eat 27 instead of 30? And so you would slowly decrease that. I used to work with my clients that used to drink soda, 4 cans a day. That's another thing. It Any type of soda can definitely change everything. And same process. Okay, how many cans are you drinking? I'm drinking 4 big cans. All right. Well, can you drink 3 this week? Okay, okay. And the week went by. Okay, I did 3. I was doing pretty good. Okay. And we're like, okay, how about 2.5? Because they make those little miniature cans. And so, okay, maybe the week later, 2.5. Okay. Well, next thing you know, I get a text and, hey, I'm drinking 2 cans of pop now. And they're the 2 little cans. So they're seeing the difference. They're feeling the difference because refined sugar, yeah, it makes us like get that extra energy, but boy, do you just drop, you just skyrocket down. And it's just, you have that up and down, and you start craving more sugar, you start craving more carbs, and next thing you know, you're binge eating, or you're drinking more sugar or eating more sugar. So what we need to do is just to slowly back off, little at a time. So another thing to counterbalance, because if we're not getting enough protein, and because when we get enough protein, we're looking at 25 to 30 grams of protein each meal.
Right.
If we're not having that much per meal, then we're going to be hungry. Right. And really quick, shortly after, within an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours later. Right. And guess what we want? We want something sugary. Yeah. We want some, and so we go to either the frappuccinos, or we go to the the little sweets, and because you're craving sweets, you're craving chocolate. So that having the protein at each meal is huge. It's right. It's so essential. When us women, we don't get it as we get older. We don't get enough protein. So
right. Right. And would you say that the sugar also has a huge effect on our gut microbiome, therefore changing the gut microbiome, which then has an effect on, our hormones, yes. And as you mentioned, the inflammation.
Oh, absolutely. No, that's spot on. So yeah, so refined sugar definitely changes our gut health. So we have good bacteria and we have bad bacteria, and we need both. So, right. I don't want you to feel like, oh my gosh, bad. Oh no, we need both. It's a happy balance. But again, more sugar that you ingest, yes, that increases the not so good bacteria. And sometimes you get then like SIBO, the small intestine, the bacteria overgrowth. Yes, because of the too much of the the bad bacteria. So keeping it at bay, that will definitely keep your gut health. And why do we talk about gut health? Why? Because it's our immune system. Right. Our gut is our immune system, and people don't realize that. I try to let clients know and spread the word that think about what you put in your mouth. So think about the soda or the cookie. Think about it before you put in your mouth. What kind of nutritional value does it have? And several clients have stopped themselves because they're like, "Oh, wait a minute." They look at this cookie or whatever, and they're like, It's like, do you want to put that in your body? Because it doesn't really have any benefits. So, but that's just something I always bring up. Just, before you drink that pop, or before you eat that cookie or sugary dessert, what kind of benefits? Now, I'm not saying don't ever have any sugary, but
within reason, right? Right. Because right now, I think that we are living in a society where it's out of control. Yeah. And it's, we need to have dessert every day, and we're, and it's at every meal, and it's at a snack time, and the overconsumption of, sugar is what's leading to a lot of,
havoc. Oh yeah. Yeah,
issues. Yeah.
Yes, fat storage, energy levels, even like acne on your face, because that's inflammation in your body, and that's the way your body like expresses, or gets it out. You break out, whether it's hives or acne. The gut health, no, definitely. Portions too. Right. That is a huge, talking about just in general, but the food portions, stop eating before you're actually full, because sometimes our stomach and our brain doesn't connect until you're overstuffed. Right. So stopping a little bit earlier, chewing your food, mindful eating. I was guilty for years. I'd read a magazine or scroll my phone while I'm eating, but being present, chewing the food slowly, tasting the food, because so much of us, we just eat it just to eat, just feed our stomach and go. And so taking the time to be mindful about how much and how much in portions, how much, when to stop. So, but going back real quick, I just want to mention about the 80-20 rule. 80-20 rule means, 80% of the time you can eat healthy, 20%, have fun. Have that cookie. But again, it's not a everyday, oh, I just had dinner, I gotta have, because there's times where you're gonna crave it. That's another thing. If you have a lot of sugar, then your brain is like, oh, I just finished eating, I need that sugar hit. And you just need to eat something sweet afterwards. But breaking that, it usually takes about a week and a half, and then you won't have the cravings anymore.
Yeah, try it for Lent.
Yes. But you know what? Once you taste that sugar, just that one time, it triggers in the brain, and it's like an addiction. You want it again, even if it's just that one piece. Yeah. If you haven't had it for a while and you try that one piece of that refined sugar, then it's like, ooh, and it's like a little dopamine hit.
Yeah. Sherri, before we wrap up here, is there any one small tidbit that we may have missed that you think ladies should know?
One other thing is movement. Movement is my jam too. I just want to mention that when our hormones change after 40, our body changes. We start to gain weight. The first thing that a lot of women do is like, oh my gosh, I got to hit the treadmill. I got to go hard and heavy and at all costs. And it's usually a hardcore cardio or a HIIT workout. And our hormones are changing, and guess what? It's an orchestra of hormones. So we have cortisol levels that will increase if the body's stressed out, whether it's from an external or internal. So if you're working out really hard, your cortisol levels are going to increase, and it's going to create more fat storage. So talking about hamster wheel, here you're trying to lose the weight, you're working so hard, you're on this hard workout, and you're actually increasing cortisol, which then increases weight gain. And so strength training is key. And I'm not talking like Arnold Schwarzenegger getting the barbell. I encourage it if that's what you want to do, but dumbbells, resistant bands, body weight exercises, functional fitness movements. And what I mean by that are pushing, pulling, also reaching, squatting, stuff that we do every day, right? And guess what? We can add to it. If we're going to squat, maybe we hold 2 dumbbells and squat, or we get a resistant band, balance and stability and core work. So all those are so important. And you're building muscle to increase bone density, to increase muscle. And I'll leave you with this. When you increase muscle, you're not going to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but you're going to get stronger, and muscle burns fat all day long. So that alone, if that doesn't change your mind about doing weights or resistant bands that builds the muscle, that alone is going to burn fat. And you're going to see your body change in inches. So don't be so consumed with the number on the scale, because a lot of women they weigh themselves every day, and our body fluctuates every day. We may need water. So, and they get very discouraged, but just see how your clothes fit. Or if you take measurements after a while, after you've been doing weights or resistant bands, you'll see your body changing, because that's the beauty of building muscle. And you'll increase your metabolism, and you're going to feel so much better. It's going to be fantastic. So that's what I'll leave you.
Well, Sherri, you're speaking my language with the strength training. So,
no, definitely.
If the listeners want to find you, where can they find you and more information about you?
Well, thank you. They can find me. I have Instagram. It's Sherri Sherock _Kickspark Fitness. And as just Sherri Sherock on Facebook. I also have a Popple. It's a digital business card. I think you may have it in the show notes. I believe there's an email you can reach me at, and a phone number. Anytime. Feel free to reach out to me at any time. I'm happy to help because I'm here to educate,
Right.
empower women.
Yep. Yes. We need to learn how to advocate for ourselves when
Right.
we go to our healthcare professionals, because that's the way that we're going to change this narrative of this is
And
just
if
how
you're
it
not,
is. Yeah.
yeah, and if you're not happy with what you're told,
Mhm.
don't accept it.
Right.
Don't accept it. You go out and you find the answer that you need,
Yep.
and because it's out there. So whether you can help them, or I can help, or someone else can help them, there are other ways besides what's given to them sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you, Sherri. We appreciate your time today.
So,
Thank you for joining us.
no, thank you. I appreciate it. It's been so much fun.
Thank you for listening to the Fit News Podcast. We will catch you next time.